You're listening to Ideal Practice, episode number 128. Today, guys, we're going to talk about how to make the shift from thinking like an entrepreneur to thinking like a CEO. That is a completely different way of thinking, and it's something that you need to develop if you want to make a bigger impact on the world, if you have big dreams for your practice. You're going to hear a lot about that in the conversation I just had with Brie Chrisman. She's an operations expert, a master of all things system, and she has an especially big heart for therapists in particular. This is going to be really practical and useful. And she's got a fantastic gift for you guys that you need. You don't know it, but you do. So we'll talk about that too. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Wendy Pitts-Reeves, and with over 2 decades of experience in the private practice world, I've built my 6-figure business while learning a lot of lessons the hard way. This is the first podcast that shows you how to apply the principles of energy, alignment, and strategy to build a practice that is profit-centered, but people-forward. This is the Ideal Practice Podcast. Hey guys, and welcome back. This is Wendy Pitts-Reeves, your host here at Ideal Practice. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the podcast. How you guys doing? As we are recording this, it's late October, and oh my gosh, it is so pretty where I live. I am in East Tennessee at the base of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, and this is one of those times of the year when there are certain times of day when the light is just right, and it is just spectacular. We have a long line of maple trees down the road in front of my house, and if all I have to do is like open all the blinds, that those trees fill the windows, and early in the morning when the sun first comes over the mountain and hits those trees, it's like fire. It's just so pretty. I love this time of year. I don't know how you guys are dealing with all the craziness that October is bringing to us, but I hope you're kind of keeping your head up. I hope today is a big day as this episode goes live. Wherever you are in the country, I hope you are staying centered and grounded. I hope you are staying on good terms with your neighbors, loving on your family, and doing good work with your clients. And I hope you're doing some good things for yourself as well. Here on Ideal Practice, we are all about helping you run, create, grow, experience, enjoy a practice that works as well for you as it does for those that you are helping. And one of the ways to do that is to make sure that you are kind of tuning in to yourself and to your practice from a high level at all times, right? So you guys have been hearing me talk about this. One of the things I like to do is in quarter 4, I'm all about kind of clearing the decks, cleaning house, getting ready for the beginning of next year, right? And in December, I am indeed going to be hosting a half-day workshop called On Purpose 2025, where we will spend time together. Workshop. It's not a webinar. I'm not going to be talking at you. We come together as a small group on Zoom, and I'm going to walk you through a series of questions, discussion, exercises to help you mine the goodies, the riches out of this year's experience in your business and prepare appropriately with intention, with clarity, with strategy for next year. I haven't opened the doors to that yet. It's too early. But if you want to get on the list so you get notified the minute we start that, you should go add your name to the waiting list now. All you have to do is go to wendypittsreeves.com/on-purpose, all one word. wendypittsreeves.com/on-purpose. There's a lot I want to say about that, but I will save that to a later time. Go get your name on the list so you know when we start getting ready to crank that thing up, because it's coming up soon. All right, let's talk about what we're doing today. So I just got off a call with today's guest. Her name is Brie Chrisman. Brie is the founder and CEO of Boss Co., which is an operations management agency that focuses on serving mental health practice owners. She helps people streamline their operations and as a result of that, increase their profits without added stress. A point that you will hear us make over and over in this conversation is that with a little bit of work on the front end, on the back end, your practice will be easier to run, much more fun, and much more profitable. So we're going to talk about that. Brie has over 15 years of experience. She empowers leaders like you to maximize resources and lead with confidence because you know what you're doing. You know what's going on. You got a handle on it all. She herself is a passionate mental health and special needs advocate. That's really important to her. And I love this, she fosters a human first approach to business. So it's not just about your tools. It's not just about your software, whatever. You yourself, the human being who is behind it all, matters most. She wants to make sure that you're taking care of that person, which is a perfect mirror, right, for how I think. Y'all hear me talk about profit-centered, people forward? It's the same idea. We need to take care of our business because in doing so, we are also taking care of ourselves. It all matters. So this conversation is great. We covered a lot of ground, and as you will hear as we work our way through it, not only does she make a great case for why you need to care about this if you are serious about growing a larger practice. So group practices, boutique practices, if you have 2 or 3 staff or more, or you plan to get there, even if you're not there right now, but that's where you're headed, this is going to be especially helpful for you. All right? It's good stuff. I think you will get a lot of really practical takeaways. We walk through a very specific framework in terms of steps to take to get a handle on things in your practice so that you're ready for it to grow. And she's got a gift for you that I think you're going to find super helpful. We'll talk about that as well. So without a moment more, let's go ahead and let's get into the interview. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Ideal Practice. I am so glad you are here because you're going to love this conversation. This is a kind of conversation that we have not had very much here on the podcast, but it is near and dear to my heart. You guys know that I'm sort of a systems geek, and I really love anything that's going to help you run your business more efficiently, more practically, more easily, and more profitably, right? So you've already heard a little bit about our guest in the intro. Let me just go ahead and hop right to it and bring her on board. So say hi, Brie.
Hey, Wendy and listeners. How are you?
Welcome.
Thank you.
I am so glad you're here. So we had to reschedule this a couple of times. Speaking of life interruptions, I've had a few of my own. And Brie, you should tell them what you just went through because this is going to be relevant for the conversation we're having today.
Yeah. So when we were initially scheduling everything out to have our, pre-podcast recording conversation and everything, I live in South Carolina. So that was around the time when Hurricane Helene came through. And luckily we didn't have the devastation that Western North Carolina has right now. But it was a challenge. 2 kids, 2 young kids running a business with no power. And we live on land with a well, so no power or running water for 2 days. And so I was sitting here trying to manage a business and get caught up from the past week and doing all the things and doing our normal Monday, Tuesday things with both of my kids running around. And so it was definitely a hair pull out moment. Mm-hmm. So, it was definitely a moment where I was so glad that I had put the systems in place that I have so that my company could still function and be able to work while I couldn't. And so that's
you're like a little south of Charlotte, right? If I remember that right?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
We're just across the border.
So far enough from where the worst of it was. I have a lot of friends who are right in the middle of it, like literally at ground zero.
Asheville, Black Mountain, yeah.
Many of whom have very robust businesses of their own that I have been wondering, like, how are they keeping that going?
Yeah.
And the first time we talked, I remember there was that one point where you were trying to think of something and you said, I'm sorry, I've got hurricane brain. It might be mother of preschooler brain too. I don't know.
Yes, a little bit.
So you have a fairly robust business of your own. So just to get us kind of sort of, we all start at the same place. Tell everybody who you help, how you help them. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, so I run an agency called Bosco. It is an operations and growth strategy agency. We work primarily with mental health private practices. We have a couple clients that aren't in the industry, but they've been with us since the OG times. So, and we love them, so we're not going to get rid of them. But so yeah, we really saw a need. Well, let me back up. When we first started, it was 4 years ago. We started more as a virtual assistant operations, like a tech VA type operations company. It was just myself. Because I saw the need that people had so much admin tasks that they needed help with. And over the years, we grew into an agency, and then we've grown into this agency solely off referrals, which is amazing. And it's definitely a testament. It's a toot my own horn moment, but it's a testament to the work that we do and how we help our clients. And because of those referrals, they ended up being all therapists. And we are so we are, me and my team specifically are such big mental health advocates already that we sat down last year and we were like, let's just go all in on mental health and let's just focus on therapists, because we know the business, we know the back end, we know the specific challenges they have. And so we went all in. We got rid of a bunch of clients that didn't really meet the criteria of staying on our client roster. And then through the years, we have really seen that, yes, the admin support is great, but then that hamster wheel never stops. And we really weren't creating as much impact as we wanted to. And so, of course, we were doing more than just a typical VA. We were being, operations managers and really helping support the staff and support the CEO or the entrepreneur, the practice owner, in a variety of different ways. But we really looked at what could move the needle the farthest and the quickest. And that was really looking at things from a global perspective and looking at the operations as a whole of, okay, if we could shift this whole system or this whole process, it could save so many hours instead of just passing off these couple tasks. And so the analogy we always use is, when you're hiring a VA, which of course we used to be in that field, say that you have a million things to do and your roof starts leaking. You're going to hire, a VA for a cheaper rate, whatever, that's going to just go around with buckets to collect rainwater. Or what we can come in is you invest in us and we just come in and fix your roof. And that will be such a more long lasting solution. And it will be pivotal for, your foundation, because obviously the rainwater gets in the cracks and crumbles your foundation and all of that. And I could go on and on with this house analogy, but it really is like looking at the business as a whole and really seeing, okay, what are the changes we can make that will impact everyone across the board and prepare the company for sustainable growth. Because that's what it boils down to, right? Is sustainability.
Right. So and which I think of as preventing burnout.
Yes.
Besides all the sort of practical side of it, just like make sure you still love doing what you do, which you're not going to if you're drowning in all the behind the scenes stuff. So operations is not a term that we use. Like that's not something that my people think about, right? So just hearing you say that, I'm like, operations. Y'all, do you know what she means by that?
Yeah. We actually did some market research earlier this year, and one of the questions was, in your words, no wrong answers, what is operations?
Great.
And most everyone, no one really got the nail on the head. Of course, there were no wrong answers, but it was very, very clear that our clientele, our target market of therapists and practice owners had no idea what we were talking about.
Which I love that. I'd love to hear that.
The reason why we're here.
Yeah, exactly. This is what we're doing here. This is super interesting. What kind of responses did you get? What did people say to that?
Some people said, there were very specific things like HR or how I get clients or hiring a new clinician or things. I'm like, yes, that is an
Right.
operation, but as a
Hmm.
whole, and that's kind of what um we were looking at and we were looking for is like, as a whole, what are operations? Do you know what in your business operations means and what a process is and everything? And so we had some pretty close answers.
That's what I think. I think of hiring, definitely. I think of um, processing claims, getting
Yep.
paid,
Yep.
managing all the paying your bills, keeping up with taxes.
Yep.
Um, I think of onboarding new clients, tracking paperwork, record keeping. So the administrative side of
Yes.
running a business, right? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, billing, planning, a simple process is one that we got. So yeah, I mean, people were kind of on the right path, but
Hmm.
it's interesting. I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and they were saying that operations really is kind of like sales. And and I was like, yes, but I feel like it's two sides of the same coin, where sales and all of that goes into it is like the front facing side, and operations is all of the back. Everything that you do to run a business or a practice is included in operations. And that's
Yeah.
HR, that's billing, that's how you onboard clients, that's how you email, those are your communication systems. Literally anything that you
Yes.
need to run a practice is, it's like operations is the umbrella, and then you have different processes and different departments within that. It's
And
kind of
so
how we
one of
look at
when you're just getting started and it's just you and all you're doing is answering the phone or answering a couple of emails or you've got a profile on site today,
it.
that's not that hard in the very beginning. You're sort of making, at least I didn't think so. You're sort of making it
Yeah.
up as you go, right?
Yep.
And a lot of people nowadays are using EHR systems that help
Hmm.
provide some of that kind of infrastructure,
Yeah.
but you're addressing something different. If like, tell me about the type of clients that you serve and the growth process that you see, because there's a specific place, y'all, when you're first getting started and you're figuring everything out. That's fine, but if you are ambitious and you've got big ideas and you want to have a bigger impact and your practice is going to grow to where it's going to be more than you're going to need to learn some things along the way.
Yes.
And I think that's where you come in, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So we do have a couple solo practitioners on our roster. But primarily our sweet spot is people that have a group practice, anywhere from 5 clinicians up to 30, 40 clinicians.
Okay.
And it's really interesting the levels of growth that we see. So
Mm,
and I've used this analogy before, but it's like having kids, from 0 to 1 is a big, big transition. And that's
yeah.
like going from a solo practitioner to adding another clinician and
Yeah.
like kind of making it's kind of a group, it is a group 100%, but in your brain, like in your entrepreneur brain, you're like, oh, it's kind of a group. I have this other person that's working for me, but I'm not a business owner yet, which is totally false. You are a business owner.
That's a great point. I
Yes.
want to put a pin in that.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. And then going from like 1 to 2 to 3, kind of to 5, and then going from 5 to maybe 10, that's kind of when you have to add, another admin support person on, or maybe a
Yeah.
clinical director, because you can't see clients and run your practice and provide supervision and be like the person that
Yes.
everyone goes to for 10 clinicians. And that's a lot of times when people, maybe open a new office or something like that. And so, it just keeps expanding. Something, you're trying to blow up a balloon or something, or like, it gets too big, you get too big for your britches and it pops. If you don't have the right things in place, everything's going to break.
Yep.
And so it's like almost like those, we love analogies at Bosco. So you'll hear a lot in this episode, but it's like, a Jenga, that old game Jenga with
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
blocks and everything. If you don't
Yeah.
have that standard base, you can have holes in it, but if you don't have the right foundation, you can't keep growing. And so we see that a lot, where our clients hit this proverbial wall where they're
Hmm.
either super burned out to where they just want to burn it all down and go back to just being the only person in the practice,
Yep.
or you see that they hate what they're doing and they don't want to see clients anymore. And they just don't have the emotional or mental or physical capacity to be there for their clients. And then that's the clients suffer and customer service suffers. And then that's when we see like negative comments coming in and things like that. Or they want to hire people, but they're too busy and they just can't.
Yeah.
And also they don't have the systems in place to train that person and they don't have the time or the energy to do so. And so that's kind of where we come in and really look at everything. It's like, okay, how can we take what you have and almost, take like come November, early December for those who celebrate Christmas, and you untangle, you get that big blob of Christmas lights and you have to untangle all of them before you can put them on the house or the tree. Like that's kind of what we do.
How do we untangle the mess?
Yes. We audit
Yeah.
everything. We look at everything. We look at what you have and we utilize the resources you already have at your disposal. And that can be software. It can be time management for yourself. It can be the people you already have on your team. And so that is something that, you don't need to hire another person. You don't need to have a team of VAs to support you. You really just need to focus on, what do you have that you can utilize that's already in your space.
So I think I want to talk about this because many of you guys know I ran a group practice for decades. And I had no training. Nobody taught me how to do that. I was kind of figuring it out as I went. And as I have talked about on this podcast in the past, there were a lot of things I did right, sort of intuitively, that I think made our group actually a lot better than a typical group practice. And I often heard that from the people that were there. And there were things that I did that honestly made it great for them, but not so great for me. Yeah. And there were a lot of mistakes I made that cost me financially, cost me energetically. And which is why after 25 years, I was exhausted and ready to kind of let it go. I used to worry that I was going to die there, that I'll just work there forever. And at one point I used to say, it's a good thing my clients had help around them because at some point I was just going to be, it was terrible. But knowing what I know now, there's so many things from the beginning. If I had known how to think like a CEO, not like a solo provider, not like an entrepreneur. I mean, we all start that. If you're the kind of person who's going to start a business, you've got that in you. And bless your heart, I relate to you so much. But there comes a time, and I see this a lot in my coaching, when as your practice grows, you have to shift from being the one with all the cool new ideas that you want to try things all the time to the one who needs to run it, manage it, and make it last, right? And that's a very, very, very different mindset. So that's where I want to go.
So different.
How do you shift from exciting, creative, let's just kick something off here and see where we're going to go with it, to, oh, I've got a company, I've got a business, I've got all these people who are depending on me. I need to make this last, which isn't nearly as exciting as the beginning to me.
No.
Right?
I mean, sometimes it depends. It depends. It depends. Yeah.
It's a different
for sure.
energy, though. It's a different energy. So talk to us. How do you shift from an entrepreneurial mindset to a CEO mindset? What does that mean? What do you need to do?
Before I go into that, I do want to just say, for the record, it is okay if you don't know what you don't know.
Yes.
There are in mental health private practice, in any kind, if you're, a healer of any kind, if you're a different type of therapist, a physical therapist, a lactation consultant, a speech therapist, any kind of healing, whatever, you don't get the training to run a business. And there's so many coaches and things out and courses that you can take to teach you how to start a practice and teach you how to grow a practice, teach you how to grow your client load and your marketing. And honestly, a lot of those are DIY, and you get an hour monthly meeting where you have 2 minutes in a hot seat to ask all of your burning questions. But there's nothing really out there. I mean, there's a couple companies like ours that are supporting clients similarly to what we do, but not in the scale that we do. And, but no one teaches you how to run a business, and that's okay. It's okay if you don't know what you don't know. And something someone told me several years ago, very early on in my entrepreneur journey, is that any mistake you make, because, we all, like you said, Wendy, you've made mistakes that were financially difficult on the practice. And that's life as an entrepreneur. Like you have to make mistakes. And a lot of times those are financial. And something that made me shift my mindset on that was so great is that mistakes you make as an entrepreneur and a business owner are just entrepreneur tuition. I was like, oh my gosh, that is so, because, in school, you pay tuition and you learn and you get to make mistakes and do all of these things. And this is not a class, this is real world, but
100%.
treating it like that,
yeah.
I have found it makes me feel a lot better when I make mistakes.
It's experiential learning, right?
Exactly.
That's what it is.
100%.
Yeah.
So back to your original question, shifting your mindset from an entrepreneur to CEO, and I'm going to speak from experience too, because I am not a practice owner. I'm not a therapist. However, I am a CEO and I have gone through this journey. And it's intense because it's not just a mindset shift of, oh, well, I know where I want to be and I'm going to not see as many clients and do all these things. You're essentially, I had actually about 8 months ago, I had this pivotal moment where I was sitting at my desk and I was like, holy cow. Okay, this really, like the mindset shift really hit me of, I got into operations because I love seeing the output and seeing how we can create efficiencies in people's businesses. As a CEO, it is a completely different career that I never thought that I would be in. You have to think, you're not just doing operations and also leading a team. Like you really have to be in the CEO role. It is a completely different job description. And that's where it really kicked me. And I was like, whew, this is different. Because you have to have that higher level of thinking. You have to have the ability to see further down the road than just your next few clients or, the calendar year. You're looking at marketing, you're looking at client growth, but you're also looking at how can I support my team
right.
From not just making sure their client roster is full, but also how can I create a company culture that they want to work in? How can I create a place where they want to work that their lives are not, obviously as a CEO, you don't have to put it all on yourselves to make their lives perfect because that's never going to happen, but creating an environment where they can be empowered and they can grow in their craft and they can support their clients is so, so important to being a successful CEO and a successful leader.
It is totally about stepping into leadership.
Yes.
Which I feel so strongly about. And I think literally at the one-on-one level as a clinician, I often tell, like, even as a supervisor or when I'm talking to young therapists, I'm like, you have to lead. You are the leader in that session. But as a practice owner, especially if you are taking on staff or building a team and you are expanding your impact, you have to learn how to lead.
Yes.
And that is a completely different mindset. It's very different from direct service. That's where I'm hearing this, is that you have to shift out of the direct service mindset and into like, okay, I'm watching the whole thing now. All of it. Yeah.
Yep. And it's not just, and I know there's a common misconception, and a manager role is not the same as a leader role.
No,
at all.
Right. Yeah. Talk about that a little bit, because I don't think people always get that.
Yeah. So when you think of a manager, you think of, someone that is your direct report. You're going to them if you have issues, they can help you in the day-to-day. They can provide direction for you. When I think of manager, and we talk about it amongst our team, it's really the person that is your point of contact and the person that can help you, like I said, through the day-to-day. A leader is really someone that can not only support you in the day-to-day, but help you learn and help you grow as an employee, as an individual, and really be able to empower you to do, certain tasks or certain aspects of your job, or, just being able to help you see your potential.
Help you see your potential.
Yeah.
Help you see your potential and the potential of the practice, and is always looking for opportunities to expand and to serve in a better way. both
Yes.
you as an individual in the practice and the people that your practice is serving on the outside.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
absolutely. Yeah. So, looking at entrepreneur versus CEO, it's really when you're in that entrepreneur mindset, you're maybe a solo practitioner, or you could have a team of 30 and still be not in the CEO mindset.
Mm,
It's, you're still wearing all the hats. You're managing clients, you're taking care of schedule, you're the contact person for every single, and every single issue. You're dealing with billing, you're ensuring everything runs smoothly. You're so entrenched in the day to day to
you're
keep the
washing the coffee
practice
cups in the
running.
sink.
Yes, yes, you're
Yeah.
doing all the
You're
things which
restocking the toilet paper.
yes, you're
Yeah.
doing all the things that you see that need to
Yeah.
be done, and
Yeah.
that's not where your expertise should lie. And we use kind of the analogy of we put a dollar amount on everything. So is it a $20 task or is it a $200 task? And you can do
Mm,
this, you can make it more customized to you, say like whatever your hourly rate is when you see an out-of-pocket full rate client.
yeah.
If you are or maybe, say it's not you, say it's one of your senior social workers or whomever on your team,
Yeah.
and they have a spot on their schedule open. Are you going to tell them like, hey, can you go shred some paper?
Yeah.
Because I need that done. Or are you going to have them, utilize their time to look for a new client and to market and to network and to bring in that additional money? And that's the difference between a $20 task and a $200 task. And
Yeah.
as the practice owner, technically your hourly rate is higher than anybody else in the practice because you have so much on your plate and you have so much to do and there's so much riding on you that you need to be able to delegate effectively. And that means knowing who your $200 an hour people are and who your $20 an hour people are. And that's not to say the $20 an hour people aren't important. They are
Right.
just as much a part of that cog wheel and everything to make things work smoothly as is the $200 person. It's just a
And
matter of
it's all supporting the economy too. This is the other thing I
yes.
think about, right? So, one of the things I learned from one of my best coaches was that when your business is successful, you are creating your own personal economy.
Yes.
So if you are hiring help at the $20 an hour end of the scale, all the way up to the whatever 200,
Yeah.
whatever, all of those you're helping all of those in
Yeah.
different ways. But if you
Exactly.
yourself are a $200 an hour level of professional,
Yep.
you don't want to be doing the $20 an hour jobs. Like, don't
Yeah.
do that for yourself. Yeah.
Exactly. So a lot of people always ask, well, how do I even start delegating? Everything needs my brain. Everything, like all of the knowledge is in my brain. Everything, like I'm the one that has to do it. And that is not technically true. It feels like it 100%.
Yeah.
And it's so hard, especially when you're starting to make that shift from entrepreneur to CEO. There's so much in your brain that you're like, I can't possibly download my brain into someone else. It's just
Mm,
impossible. It's
mm.
not. It just takes a lot of time and a lot of diligence and discipline, but it can be done.
I
And
don't have the time to train somebody. I can't tell somebody how I do things. I just know.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And the thing that we always say is the only tasks that should be on your plate are the ones that actually need your specific brain, not just because the information is in your brain, but because it needs your specific uniqueness, your creativity, why you are the one running this company.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else can be delegated with SOPs, which are standard operating procedures. It can be training. Something that we do at Bosco is we get on Zoom, Google Meet, whatever, and use a screen recorder and use, one of those AI meeting recorders. And we go through the entire process and record us doing the process and
Yes.
the questions of the person training and the trainee. And so they get all of that feedback and everything. And then they take that process off of our plate. And then they create their own either written or video, like more official operating procedures. So that way, if they ever need to train someone else, they can. But it's kind of killing two birds with one stone.
Oh,
So
that's super cool.
we record the training instead of me trying to take an hour out of my day to do a process I haven't done in a while that I need to pass off to somebody else. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh my
Just
gosh.
capture it while you're
Yes,
doing it and then go
exactly.
back and mine it for the
Yep.
actual process. There's a tool called Scribe
Oh,
that I've
I
used
love
to do that
Scribe.
before. Yeah.
Yep, Scribe's
Um,
amazing.
well, it records everything you're doing on your computer as you're doing it. And so
Yep.
if you are publishing a blog post or you are a podcast, like anything like this that I'm doing, literally as you're going through the motions, it's capturing all of that. And then it will
Mhm.
spit out a step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5
Yep.
thing process for you. It's
Yeah, it's
brilliant.
amazing. I
Yep.
love Scribe. And we also use a tool called Loom, Loom,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that's amazing. I know, I'm sure Wendy, you use it all the time.
Yep.
But it's a screen recorder. And so it's essentially you can either have your face in it or you don't. I usually don't have my face in mine. But you can record videos and it literally it records your voice and it records your screen. And so you can
Right.
do a process and train people and also give I always I always tell my team there's a bunch of verbal diarrhea in there because I just spit out random things. I was like, oh, by the way, I forgot about this. Make sure you add this in.
Yes.
And like helpful hints and tips that are in my brain that now they have documented. And so it's, there's so many different ways to do that. But getting those off your plate and getting them to somebody else who can do it and probably do it
Mm.
faster because they have more capacity, whether that's physical or mental capacity.
Hmm.
And then that way you can focus on the things that actually need your input.
Yeah. Yeah. We just went through this process on the podcast, actually. We've started using a new project management tool called ClickUp. That
Oh,
is,
I'm a
it is.
ClickUp expert. I don't
Are
know if you
you
know that.
really?
I
Actually,
am. Yep. We
I
used to
sort of
build
am
ClickUps for
too.
people. Yep.
um, it took me a while to wrap my head around it because it's quite complicated. And I'm moderately techie, but ClickUp was a big step. But it has taken us several months to
Yeah.
really, really, really work through all the details of it. So this goes to your point about you think you don't have time. First of all, spitting it out of your brain uh, on video or audio is a great way to you don't have
Yep.
to sit down and write it down. Just say it. Somebody else can pull out the good stuff. That's one thing.
Yep.
Recording it on the screen, Loom is a great tool. So that's another really good point. But the third point I want to make that I kind of want to reinforce something that you're saying is it is worth your time to
Yes.
dig into this on the front end because it will save so much time on the back end. Over the
Yeah.
last few weeks, I've been dealing with my mom's had some surgery that I've been having to help with, guys. And I have mostly been kind of out of pocket, honestly. It has not mattered a bit. My team is running things
Yeah.
and things are just clicking along just fine. We're good. We're
Yeah.
good. I don't even have to think about it because we have done the work to get all the systems in place. So
Yes.
good. Yeah.
Yes. It is amazing. Um,
Yeah.
when someone tells me that they don't have time, I'm like, okay, well, how long does that, or like, oh, it only takes me a couple minutes. It's not a big deal. I'm like, okay, there's multiple problems with that statement. And I'm very direct and blunt with my clients. So they know that about me. But it's my New Yorker that comes out. I may live in the South, but I am a New Yorker, true and true. But so like, okay, that's great. But so how long does it take? I don't know, 5 minutes. Okay. Do you do it every day? Yes. Okay. Well, we're gonna do some quick math here. 5 times 5 is 25. So that's 25 minutes per week. Say you take two weeks of vacation. That's 1,250 minutes. That's almost 21 hours of your time per year that you are spending on this rinky-dink task. That is ridiculous when it can be either automated or somebody else can be doing it.
Yeah.
And that's not including the fact that majority of the time, those 5-minute tasks are dropped in when you're doing something else. And so the executive function it takes to stop what you're doing, switch gears, go to that task, and then switch back, the amount of minutes that takes and the amount of toll on your mental state that takes
That's
is
huge.
so much more than 5 minutes. And then that's when we get into decision fatigue and analysis paralysis and all of that is because all of those little, things that don't really seem like they matter, that's one more thing. Say you have a bucket and you have, you only have a limit of 50 decisions a day. Well,
Yes.
you just use 3 on that itty bitty task.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me. I wish I had it. There's a book called Your Brain at Work. I can't remember the author's name. I'm terrible about authors. That goes into extreme, like lots of really cool research and detail about this kind of principle, about the energy drain that we have
Yes.
by distractions, by that task switching, all that kind of stuff, and a lot of other things
Mhm.
too. It was a really, really good read for anyone who's interested in that. Um,
Yeah.
you're right. And that 5 minute task is just one of probably like a
Yeah.
dozen of those that you're doing
Yes.
every day. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. When we're talking about getting into that CEO mindset, it's being aware of all of those little things that you're doing. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times we ask people to do that we work with, you need to do a time audit because I guarantee you don't realize how many things you're doing and that, that random email that you sent off that somebody else could do and that random task and this and this and this. And so we have them, and it's such a pain in the butt to do a time audit, but it's so worth it because you can have a piece of paper next to you. If you're a spreadsheet person, you can do a spreadsheet. But we ask anytime that you do something and switch tasks, we want you to write it down. So that would be like sending 3 emails, switching to, I don't know, write a treatment plan, doing that, doing all of, and then going into marketing, writing a social post, and then checking on someone's quarterly review. I'm like, well, that right there is
And then going back to check
4.
your emails to see which ones you missed.
Yeah.
And
And then
then
going back into
checking your
client mode.
phone. Right.
Yes. Scrolling on Instagram for a minute and like all of those things, the amount of, and that's kind of where we come into like a time management portion. And that's a big part of the CEO mindset too, is that, bringing in that discipline again of we look at time blocking a lot for CEOs because you have so many hats to wear, you do, and you have so many things on your plate. Even when you are in that CEO mindset versus the entrepreneur, you still have so much to do and so much to check on. You might not be in the weeds doing the tasks. There's still a lot to do, especially if you're still seeing clients, because it's not just, clients, it's getting referrals, it's notes, it's treatment plans, it's diagnoses, it's,
Yeah.
talking with other providers. And so,
So can you walk
yeah,
us through? So we've made a
yes,
good case for why this is important, right?
yes,
And what you need to do.
yep,
Talk us through like, all right, you've convinced me. I need to do
yep,
this. I don't even know where to start.
yeah.
Can you kind of give us some sort of a high level, maybe 3 to 5 areas or steps to take to begin? Like you just mentioned the time on it,
Yeah.
which I think is a brilliant place to start. Maybe a
Yes.
little more about that. And from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our big things that we look at are time management,
Okay.
delegation,
Okay.
and processes are the 3 big things that we look at the beginning.
Okay.
When anytime we work with a new client, we always do a business audit, and that includes time audit. We do an expense audit, which we'll put a pin in that too, because we'll talk about that toward
Mm-hmm.
the end. But because you don't know where you can go if you don't know where you've been. And so not knowing your numbers, not knowing what's going on in your practice, it's very difficult to grow from there and to be able to step into any different mindset besides the one that you're in. And so that's really the time audit and expenses. That's just the auditing in general, just figuring out where you've been. And
Yeah.
then the delegation, this is always a challenging piece, but it really is just what my favorite activity or brainstorm activity is to brain dump literally everything in your brain. And that can be, clean out the litter box and go to the grocery store and pick up a prescription. And everything and anything that you have in your brain that's floating around that you need to do, write it and put it on pen and paper. Don't write it in your notes app. Don't write it on ClickUp, because there is that power of writing pen to paper and how it triggers in your brain. And
Yes.
then from there, what I have people do is, categorize everything. And if it's personal or professional, whatever, and then look at everything and say, okay, what could I delegate to someone? And I know there's so many different ways and so many different models to do this. And I'm sure people have heard them, here, there, whatever, like the do, delegate, and ditch is one. There's a bunch of others. I like to do mine in priority order, but the first thing you need to do is figure out, okay, what can I delegate? And because, for me personally, there's a lot of things that everyone's like, oh, well, you can ditch some tasks. I'm like, no, I can't. I've looked through all of these, and everything that I have on my plate is in fact something that needs to be done, whether it's
Yeah.
me or somebody else. And
Right.
so figuring out, okay, well, if I can delegate this task, and also I like to say, look at the tasks you hate doing. Look at the tasks that
Mm,
really bug you and take
mm.
it might take 5 minutes, but if we all have that one task, Wendy, you know what I'm talking about, that has been on your radar for like,
billing.
yes. But also like the one task that's been on your radar for like 3 months and you just keep putting it aside and putting it aside. And then you do it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that took me 10 minutes. And it's
so
causing
true.
so much strife in my brain and it's keeping me up till 3 a.m. And yet now it's done. You're like, wow, that wasn't so bad.
Right.
And so things like that, those tasks and just tasks that you just really don't like doing, or it takes way more mental energy than what you have. Those are the tasks we're going to delegate first.
Yeah.
And we could go into a whole other episode of Zone of Genius and Zone of Excellence and all of that, but we don't have time for that today.
Which is from The Big Leap.
Yes. Yep. That is
right.
Exactly.
The book, The Big Leap. Yeah.
Yep. By Gay Hendricks. Yep.
Yep.
And so my advice is to pick 2 things that you hate doing right now, right? Brain dump your stuff, brain dump everything in your mind. Pick 2 things you hate doing and come up with a plan or set aside time that you are going to create a standard operating procedure. And that can literally be a checklist, or it can just be a brain dump of like, these are the steps to take, and give it to somebody else.
Oh, I love that.
And so if you start with 1 or 2, then you're like, oh, I can actually do this. I can delegate. I am capable of delegating. And then you get more into the habit and you are aware that you can do it. And it's not so daunting that you're giving everything up, because asking for help is a strength, not a weakness. And
did y'all hear that?
Yep.
Did y'all hear that? Because you are all helpers.
Yes.
So
asking for help is a strength, not a weakness. And you can do so much more, and you can make such a bigger impact if you let people help you and you delegate other things.
Amen.
And so, especially if that person loves doing tasks like that, that's another thing of that zone of genius. If you are like, I hate creating social media posts, and you have someone on your team that's like, oh my gosh, I love creating content. Give it to them all day long and twice on Sunday. Give it to them, because they're going to not only do it better, and you'll also be able to take it off your plate, but it'll probably take them half the time because they actually like doing it and they're not dreading it.
I cannot support this enough. Like, this is so awesome, guys. So like, y'all have heard me talk about how much I love doing the podcast. What I don't love is writing all the copy that needs to go with every episode. Mm-hmm. I can do it. I'm actually pretty good at it. I actually like writing, but I am obsessive. And so something that takes somebody else an hour to do will take me 3.
Yes.
And a big part of the shift I have made this year is handing that over to someone. Bless that. Call out to you, Kirsten, who is a rock star at it, who does not mind it, actually enjoys it, and is great at it.
Yeah.
And just because you're handing it over to somebody doesn't mean you're letting go of control, because I still tell her what I like, what I don't like. Yep. We still tweak things. I still edit and make sure that it's exactly what I want. So I'm still in charge. Right.
Yep.
And it's still my voice, but somebody else does the grunt work for me, who doesn't mind doing it.
Yes. Who likes doing it. Yeah. We do our blog posts. I come up with an outline and an idea, and then my assistant writes it all. And then I come in and just tweak things, and she handles putting it on the website and finding all the cool GIFs and the formatting and all of that, and writing the marketing email. Saying that we have is delegate, don't abdicate.
Yes.
And because there's so many things about delegating that I've honestly, I will be guilty in this, or say that I have been guilty of this, that I have abdicated before because I was just in a state of burnout and I was like, I literally can't handle this. So I'm just going to give it to you, and I'm going to pretend it's not, I'm just going to pretend it's happening. And I'm just going to, and it turns out it wasn't happening. And I ended up having to let go of that person because they were not doing their job. And the client was unhappy, and luckily we were able to salvage it and everything. But that
is a lesson you will learn, right?
It is a lesson you'll learn.
Hand it over, but you still stay engaged and you still pay attention, especially where your finances are concerned, or where customer service is concerned. So
absolutely,
you do have most therapists, I think, other than maybe a receptionist or something along those lines, will be the one dealing with clients directly usually, but their money is where they tend to let go. You hand it over to a billing clerk, you hand it over whatever, and you're not paying attention. That will cost you. Do not make the mistake.
Same with scheduling and things like that.
Yes.
Yeah. And one other thing I will say about delegating before we move on is that just because you've delegated it physically, if it is still running through your brain, you have not fully delegated that. If it's still on your mind
Mm,
and you're still thinking about if it's getting done,
mm.
you need to somehow figure out a way to let that go mentally as well, whether that's making sure that that person you delegated to um, has enough experience, making sure they understand it, have training with them. We do I do, we do, you do training. So our training process for
Say that again. What did you say? We do?
I do, we do, you do. And
I
so it's
love it.
a training process. Anytime we have a new employee come on, we have a roughly like a 60-day training period and we meet weekly. And so we basically brain dump everything that they're going to be doing. We go through the processes where the person that's training them is doing the work, and then we do it together. And then the person who's taking it on does it on their own. And so that way they feel supported and they know that they've got it and
Yeah.
they have the support and, the expertise. And we're not just throwing them in, say, sink or swim.
You know what? That's a really good point. What you're saying there. So there's a difference between what I just said about stay engaged, that you
Mm-hmm.
still pay attention, versus worrying about it, stressing over it. What you said, it's still taking up a lot of space in your
Yes.
brain. That's a really, really good point, Brie, that I hadn't thought about before,
Yeah.
because I've had both of those experiences, right? I've hired people to
Mm-hmm.
do things and then have had to go back and check things and fix things. And I know what it feels like when it's like, they got it. I don't have to worry about it. I need to tweak it
Yes.
every now and then. I need to step in, but yeah, I'm good. I really
Yes.
literally don't have to think about it.
There
That's
is that
freedom.
gut feeling. Yeah, there's
Hmm.
that gut feeling that you're like, I know they have it and I don't have to
Yeah.
worry about it. And so
Trust.
that's where that training comes in and
Yeah.
knowing that you can trust them and empower them to do those things.
And you've done the work on the front end. I
Yes,
do. We do.
exactly.
You've taken the time on the front.
Exactly.
You're into analogies. I always think about it as a mom trying to teach a 3-year-old to make up their bed. Like, it's so
Yeah.
much easier if I go in and make up their bed.
Yep.
But if I do that for a 3-year-old when they're 15, it's really going to tick me off that they're not making up their
Hmm.
bed. Right. So
Yes.
go to the trouble of teaching them how to do it.
Yep. Like sleep training or potty training.
Yeah.
Clearly
Anything.
I am in the toddler life right now, but
Yeah. Yeah. It's
yeah.
worth it.
Yes,
Awesome.
absolutely.
So delegate. You said something about trash at the beginning, like there's stuff you really do have to do. I do think I always, when I go through this kind of a thing in my own mind, I think eliminate, delegate,
Yes.
right? So sometimes there are things that you're doing that you really don't have to do. That's just sort of a waste of time, or it's just you being obsessive.
Yeah.
Certainly clean those out. The delegation is key here.
Yes. I like to call those tasks productive procrastination.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it's, the tasks that probably they need to be done at some point, but aren't the most urgent tasks, but you're just like, I literally can't do these urgent tasks right now. So that's what I did. I updated our website this weekend and I probably should have been doing something else, but it's done and it looks great. And it makes me really happy because it was kind of a back burner task.
It
And it
was a
was the
dopamine hit. Yeah.
brain capacity that I had after hurricane
Yeah.
and fall break and all of that. So it was productive, but it was very much procrastination.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the one other thing that is shifting entrepreneur to CEO is maximizing those resources. So looking at the processes, making sure you are optimizing even things like your client intake from lead to first appointment and making sure that that whole process is seamless and it's standardized so every client gets the same level of care, no matter who they're talking to, no matter who they're seeing. And so that's really big. That's one process we always look at the beginning. And then it also helps you too with seeing your churn rates and seeing how your onboarding rate. And so it's not just the process.
Explain churn rate, what that
Yep.
means.
So churn rate would be the amount, there's a couple different ways you can look at it. And it's the amount of sessions someone has before they drop off and kind of ghost or they're done.
It's your turnover rate, guys.
Yeah.
It's your turnover rate with your clients.
Yeah.
Like, do they stay? Do they do the work? Do they engage and finish
Yeah.
appropriately? Or do they? I used to track how many clients only came once and didn't come back. That was something I used to watch. I kept a running list of all intakes that I did in a year, and what was the average length of stay. So if they only came once, That tells me something. If they came 2 or 3 times and then disappeared versus the folks who came and stayed. What's the difference between those? What do they have in common? Like, this is a systems issue.
Yeah.
What did they have in common? Was it the problem they were coming with? Was it who referred them? Was it the type of payment system they had? There's lots of different things you can look at, but did that tell me something as a CEO about a theme that we had going on? And was there something we could do to address it?
Yes. And it also could be the type of clientele it is. Are they all the people that are staying men in their 50s? And like, very much so, okay, if that's what it is, and that's like what your niche is, then let's go all in on that with SEO and search engine optimization and getting more of those clients in. And the one thing that we talk about a lot is in that intake to first appointment time frame, there's a lot that goes on. You have your consult call and you have emails. If you're not following up, a lot of people drop off. And so we've created a system where it's a pretty good, I don't know the exact conversion rate, and it's different per client just because of, the different nuances, but we are able to track where people fall off. And if they're falling off between the intake form or like the lead inquiry form and consult, we need to figure out, okay, do we need to send more follow-ups, or do we need to contact them in a different way? If they're falling off after the consult, let's look at what are you doing in the consult? Are you engaging them in the correct way? Let's look at, let's do some role playing with your consult calls. If they're not filling out their paperwork before their first appointment, okay, we need to figure out a better system to make sure their paperwork is done more than 24 hours in advance. And so we can see very easily where people drop off and how we can fix those issues.
Guys, can y'all see like how this would impact your bottom line? Like, this is a great example of one, CEO thinking, because you are looking at the big picture.
Yep.
At the same time, you have a system in place that is getting down to the weeds a little bit, getting granular about tracking the data.
Yep. And you're not the one tracking the data.
Right. Somebody else is doing it. Right. You've either got it, or you either have you have a software that does it, and you have an admin who tracks it, whatever. Absolutely. You're not, thank you. But that's what you're saying is so specific. And I think most of the folks in my world don't think this way.
Yeah.
Tracking the number of new client inquiries you get, the new clients who actually phone call you, the clients who actually set up an appointment, the clients who actually come into that appointment, the clients who actually come back. And all the things that happen in between. And what you're saying is we pay attention to where do we lose them?
Yep.
Because if you see a pattern there, because you're losing money.
Yep.
Not only are you losing the chance to help them, because they got maybe, and it could be something completely legit and fine. You're just not a good fit. It wasn't a good chemistry. They found somebody else who has a skill set that is a better fit. Whatever. That's
they take your insurance. Yeah.
That's fine. But if there is something here you can do something about, like maybe I used to refer a lot of folks to a local a medication provider, a psychiatric practice, and I had to warn them that the doctor that I was sending them to was great, but the front end staff were not so great, because I got so many complaints about the way the scheduling happened and the way the front desk people were. I said, I hear a lot of complaints. Get past that, because this person is worth getting to, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's so good. And such a great example of taking the time to get into the details and track it, learn from it, improve your practice because of that information, serve more people, make more money, and don't do it yourself.
Kind of to bring it full circle with operations. If you don't have a documented process where everyone's doing it the same way, and it's standardized, and people think standardized and they're like, oh my gosh, it's like a Scantron and a test. No, standardized is good. It's, you can still have that warm customer service and that excellent support and still have a standardized process. And because that standardized process will help you be able to track things, because you can't track them if they're done different ways. And also, if you bring someone on staff-wise, a new person, you're growing, which is great, and you need another admin or someone doing scheduling or billing, you already have that in place, and you can say, look at the SOP, look at the standard operating procedure, and let me know if you have any questions, and we'll train on it.
So I have a question for you, Brie. In your
Yes.
clients, because you work with therapists,
Yep.
do you find that they tend to be resistant to standardization, to having a ritualized way of doing things because they're creative and intuitive and they kind of want to do things in the moment? Do they resist having structure or systems around how they do stuff?
I will say this is a lot more complicated question than it seems. They love it. It's a matter if they stick to it.
Okay.
And so one of my like catchphrases, if you will, is the system doesn't work if you don't work the system.
Yeah.
And everyone has to opt in for it to work. Because if one person goes rogue, the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah.
And so it is a challenge of, if you've been in the mode of flying by the seat of your pants, which is totally fine, especially if you're a solo practitioner, that's great. But if you want that standardization, you want that support for yourself, because that helps you go on vacation. It helps you with family planning. It helps if you have a hurricane and things like that. You have to be willing to have that discipline and stick to the system. And if the system doesn't work or something change the system. It's a living, breathing thing. And so it always can be shifted to what you need.
I want to add something to that. Not only is it like discipline is such a hard word. It's like the word budget
yes.
versus a spending plan, right? I think of it like, it's a lot easier to do the laundry if you have already sorted the clothes in 3 different hampers beforehand versus picking stuff up off the floor all over the place, right?
Yes.
That system on the front end, I don't even think it has to be about discipline so much as sort of training yourself in a new habit, a new way of thinking.
It is about habits.
And it will save your energy. That's where I go. It is, I think people underestimate. One of my best friends and a business accountability partner is a creative out the wazoo, and systems are so foreign to her. And intellectually, she knows that they work, but everything in her is just not wired that way. So we talk about this a lot. It is hard to measure how much brain energy we lose and how exhausting it is to be starting from scratch every single time with a new client and just winging it. Don't do that to yourself. Save yourself some brain power, save yourself some emotional energy so you can be more present with your staff if you're not doing the direct service anymore, and with your clients if you are, by following Brie's advice here. Get this stuff in place. You will love it. It will make your life so much easier.
It's that feeling when you're like, I'll just get gas in the morning before I go to work. No.
Yeah.
Because it always bites you in the butt when it's, 7:00 and something happens and you're late and
it's laying out the kids' clothes before they go to bed. Right.
Yes.
And not having the fight in the morning.
Yeah. And say you have a client emergency that night, or, something, one of your regular clients has an emergent, like something happened that usually their sessions are really calm and stuff. And it's a total emotional drain for you, or something happens with your staff, or something happens at home. You want to prepare yourself, not just your company, and your employees, but also yourself, so that if ish hits the fan, then like a hurricane or kids getting sick or a mother having surgery, it can run, and you don't have to stress about, everything's in my brain and no one can everything. You don't have to be the bottleneck anymore. Things won't just screech to a halt.
You don't have to be the bottleneck anymore. And in fact, and that's where doing that brain dump, that sort of assessment piece and the brain dump and figuring out what's happening. One of the things I think would be helpful to do when you do that time audit that you were talking about, which is great. I actually have recommended almost the exact same thing to do that. I tell people to track everything they do for 2 weeks, to write down everything you do. Now, you were thinking about it from a time switching perspective, which is also really great. I haven't done that. But I would tell people to keep a piece of paper on their desk, and for 2 weeks, just write down everything you do in a day. But however you do it, how much of that is something that, like you said, you really do have to do? How much of that can somebody else do? How
Yep.
much of that impacts is affecting the money on the table, is affecting your bottom
Yes.
line, right? How much of this costing you money? What's making you money,
Yeah.
right? And like all of that together is going to make your business run much smoother. So I want to sort of like pull this together a little bit. I was thinking
Yeah.
if I could summarize, and you correct me if I'm wrong with this. Essentially, what I hear you saying is start with an audit, an assessment, figure out where you are, what you got, what's working.
Yep. Data's not sexy, but it's amazing what you can do with it.
Absolutely. It's like spring cleaning your business.
Yes.
Start with that and then categorize all of that and then delegate. And you did a beautiful description of what that looks like, what that means. And then start looking at for the long term. Like that's sort of to me, like almost in the short term kind of way to
Yeah.
think about things. In the long term, start looking at how to maximize your resources by evaluating your processes. And I think you named a lot of different things. The way I think, if you're not sure where to start, everything that's client touching, like every touch point that involves a client, phone call, email, billing, payment collection, follow up, which we don't, I think we drop the ball on that a lot. The client journey from the very beginning to where you send them out. Good luck. I miss you. I'll miss you. Check in with me from time to time.
Yes.
Anything you can do to standardize that. And you said, it doesn't mean you're not warm. It doesn't mean you're not human. Of course it doesn't. But it means that what it means for your clients, and I'm sorry, I'm talking too much. I'll get off of this in a second.
No, you're fine.
What it means for your clients is that you are predictable, reliable, and that instills a sense of safety and connection with your clients. They know exactly what to expect.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's a clinical value, right?
Yeah.
So look at this. How you handle your intake paperwork is actually a therapeutic issue.
Yes.
Like everything else is.
Absolutely. And when you have those standardizations, it creates boundaries too, which we all know is super important.
Amen.
So there are so many different facets that a system touches. And when we talk about processes, if you don't know, like Wendy, you're saying there's so many different things you can do. If you think a process is just a set of steps that's repeated, that's something that you repeat on it doesn't have to be a regular basis, but just something that repeats in your business. It can be once a year, like sending out yearly paperwork. It can be daily, it can be hourly. But a process is just that. And it can be a full set of steps. It can be a checklist. Yeah. It's just something that if you have it written down, it's like when you're going to the grocery store and you're, making a big meal. If you have your ingredient list, if you have your shopping list, you don't have to think and you can focus on navigating the store instead. Right. If you are trying to remember everything, you're probably going to forget something. And then you're going to get home and you don't have the milk. And then you have to drive back to the store. And so
it's a brain drain and it's exhausting.
Yes, it's such a brain drain.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So good.
I think you summarized it really, really well.
Well, I think it can be overwhelming for people.
Yes.
And if you're not sort of hardwired to think this way anyway, it can be like, oh, I don't even, right?
Yeah.
But I really feel like it's important if you are serious, guys. So this goes back to where we started, which is the business owner mindset, thinking like a business owner.
Yes.
And a lot of my coaching clients have said that that's a big part of what they get out of doing the coaching work is that for the first time ever, I've started thinking like not just a therapist, but that I actually do own a business.
Yes.
Right.
And I don't care if you are if you're solo, you don't have an admin team, you don't have anybody working, it's just you, or you have 50 clinicians and 3 offices. You are a business owner.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
And so you are that person. And so all of this does apply to you still.
Right. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be complicated. Nope. It does take some thinking. It does take clarity. It does take patience. Like you can't just snap your fingers and do this any more than you can snap your fingers and your 3-year-old knows how to make up the bed, right? It does take some time, but the benefits are worth it. And for those of you, and I know there are a lot of you out there because I can tell from the episodes that you like, y'all have heard me I interviewed a couple of therapists who have $1 million practices. You guys liked that stuff because who knew that was even possible?
Yeah.
Right. Well, they didn't get there because they were doing everything themselves and they were just winging it.
Yeah.
Okay. They started that way. And that creative entrepreneurial side of you that is great at spotting a problem and coming up with a creative solution, and who has the guts and the courage to try it, even if you don't know what you're doing, girl, I'm talking to you because you are my twin, right? That's me.
Yep.
But at some point, for you to really do the good you want to do in the world and to last,
Yes.
this is part of the skills you have to learn. That's all it is. It's all it is.
And it doesn't mean you can't be creative still. You can still have those creative ideas and say, Wendy, can you take care of that instead of me? Great.
Yeah.
And
it's a really good feeling.
Yeah, it's such a great, because you can have all the ideas and have to put, I mean, you have to put the work in, obviously, but you have the people that you have empowered through your leadership skills and the delegation, because you've trained them on the front end, that you can give them an idea and they can take it and run with it. And you know it's happening and they will update you on their progress. And that's how you a beautiful feeling.
Visionary. Yeah, it is the best feeling in the whole wide world.
It's such a good feeling, especially if you have kids sick or so. Like for me, obviously I'm in the thick of it with young kids. If I have to go pick up my kid from school or something, or my son has special needs, so I'm ducking out a lot 2 days a week to go to therapies, and I just see on Slack, our communication system, things just happening, and my operations manager answering questions that I don't have to answer. I'm like, this is great.
It's such a good feeling. And y'all, I want you to notice something she just said. It's a little thing that it will be easy to miss. She just said, my operations manager.
Yes.
And Brie is an operations expert.
Yes.
Right. This is what she does. It is her bread and butter. It is in her blood. And even she has someone who manages that for her.
Because I can't do it all.
Because she can't do it all. And because you're the visionary behind the business.
Yep. I'm on a podcast.
You're on a podcast.
Do it.
So I know that you have a little gift for our folks that is a great little tool that I want to share with them. You want to talk about that and tell them about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a workbook for you that Wendy will drop, I think, in the show notes. It is our operational expense audit. And I know, super boring, but I promise you it's going to be like the best thing you do in Q4 for the rest of the year. This is our exact template that we use with our clients. And so this is something that we do typically at least quarterly, if not yearly. If it's a big dump, we'll do it yearly. But what it is looking through all of your fixed expenses to see where you can get that dopamine hit with decreasing your expenses. Because this could be another whole episode, but profit equals revenue minus expenses. And so many people just focus on revenue. Those revenue receipts you see on Instagram all the time, they could be in the red and you would have no idea.
Yeah.
Their expenses could be so high. And the more that you standardize and the more that you create efficiencies and maximize your resources, the lower your expenses. And if your revenue is going up and your expenses are lowered, that means more profit. And so this is a great way to see, obviously we always have variable expenses like payroll and, buying stuff for your office and, those coffees out and things like that. But the fixed expenses is really where you want to know and really budget down. And so what we do is you have a template, we have a sample to give you that you can see like sample data. I have a video on there that tells you how to walk through it. But essentially what it will do will show you where you can cut costs. And through the exact same spreadsheet that you're getting, we did this with a client last quarter and we saved her $3,800 per year by just switching out her software and shifting like price tiers on her software.
Wow, guys.
$3,800 a year.
That's a lot of money. And if you multiply that times different versions of this, like there are lots of ways that's going to happen. That's awesome. That means you keep more of the money you're making.
Yes, exactly.
Which I would like you to do, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's another mistake I've seen people make when they do start to, because I've made it myself, when you start to grow and your income is rising, it's very easy to start throwing money at a problem unconsciously, like without giving it some thought, without a strategy. And I
Yep.
think the process that you're walking, like I've done that myself, just buy the software,
Same.
sign up for the program, whatever. What
Yep.
you're saying is like when you work through the system, the process that you've laid out for us today,
Hmm.
you will be more thoughtful, deliberate, and intentional about that.
Yes.
And then when you do choose to spend money, you're spending money in a way that's going to make perfect sense for your business. That's fine. You can hire another,
Exactly.
you can hire another person. You can hire more help.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then another cool feature about this is that we have a breakdown. If you are a group practice owner, we have a breakdown per staff member. So you can see in a given month what each
Wow.
staff member is basically costing you, so that you can see if you'll know how many leads they need to bring in to create a profit for you after their payroll and everything as well. So it really gives you a good indication of your expenses as a whole, your fixed expenses as a whole, but also those base quote unquote costs of what each staff member you're paying for. So because we always want to make a profit, from our
Right. They need to be
clinicians as
making money
well.
for you. They need to
Yes,
be your return on your
exactly.
investment in them. So y'all, the title of her gift for you is called the Operational Expense Audit Workbook. She's right. That is not a sexy title.
No.
I would call it the free money finder, in-house free money finder.
Yeah. And that is where I am very much a in the box operations person, and you are the creative in the group.
See, there you go. It's great. Teamwork. It's
Yep.
great. Yeah, we'll have that link down below for sure. And I encourage you to like, don't read that and kind of go, read it,
Yeah.
download it, go get it. And y'all, I've been talking to you a lot actually lately about how to use Q4 to kind of clear the decks and prepare for an awesome 2025, right? We've been talking about that a lot. This could be a great exercise to do as part of that process for you. So, Brie, we have, as I thought we might, gone over. It's been a really, really great conversation. One of the things that you and I have talked about before is that it takes, like in your intensive work with people, I think it takes like 6 months or longer to get a hold of this. So we can't cover it all in an hour. Of course we can't. But you've done a great job of laying out kind of the high level framework for people to think through. And I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Before we bring this to a close, well, first of all, how do they find you? Tell them that.
Yes.
Where's the best place?
Honestly, our best place is our website, heybossco.com. That has all the information about our team, about our services. We have 3 services, just consulting, not just consulting, but one-on-one consulting where you can actually work with me on anything that's going on in your business audits, and then our signature program called Peak. It's a 6-month intensive where we help with not only providing you the tools to step into your CEO seat, but prepping your business so that you can run it like a CEO as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So go check out heybossco.com. We'll have that link down below, but for sure, I want you to catch that. Great. And it is a really good website. It's got a lot of good stuff on it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the last thing I want to do before we wrap this up is we've talked a lot about the why. We've talked a little bit about the how. We've given people some ideas about where to go start this sort of whole mindset shift from entrepreneur to CEO. Is there anything I haven't asked you, anything that we haven't covered, or anything you just feel called to share that you think would make this conversation more complete?
My big hit home is it's okay to not know what you don't know.
Yeah.
No one is judging you. This is your journey. It can look however you want.
Yes.
And, this is your practice. You can have it look however you want. You're the business owner. You get to make the decisions, which is great. And it's totally different than corporate America.
Yeah.
And when you get to a point where you don't know the answer, reach out for help.
There you go. There was a time, guys, when you didn't know how to do the work that you're doing with your clients.
Yeah.
There was a time when that was overwhelming and you thought you would never learn. But look at you now, right?
Yes.
So this is just the next stage of your evolution as a business owner and a practice owner. So you can do this.
Yes.
And if you need help, call Brie. There you go. Okay. Great. Thank you so much Brie for being here today. This has been a fun conversation and certainly got my brain going. It makes me want to go back in and I could play with this kind of stuff all day long. It's a bit of a, yeah. So anyway, thank you for being here, guys. I hope you take action on this. I hope you give yourself permission to be imperfect and to learn. And to know that what Brie just said is right. It's your practice. It's your ideal practice. An ideal is an evolving thing, right? It will be what you make it. And that's fine. There are no rules here. This is all yours. So do it your way, but do learn because it'll make your life easier. All right, everybody, have a great week. And I will see you next week right here on Ideal Practice. Bye now. Hey, y'all. If this program has become important to you, if Ideal Practice matters, it would mean so much to me if you'd be willing to take just a minute to do one or two of the following things. First of all, would you follow or subscribe to the show here at Ideal Practice? Following me helps you because you'll never miss an episode, but it helps me as well for all kinds of reasons. To do that, all you have to do is go to the show page for Ideal Practice on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. There, just click on the plus sign that you'll usually find in the top right-hand corner, or click on the word follow that you're going to find somewhere there on that page. Of all the things, this really is the most important thing you can do for the podcast itself. While you're there, it would be extra special if you would be willing to give me a 5-star rating, and even better than that, a review with your own words. Your words matter. And when you write what you feel, what you think, you uplift and encourage others. And I love that. If you want to go a step further than that, take your favorite episode or two, one of the ones that has meant a lot to you, and share it with a friend. Could you do one or two of those things for me? I promise I will love you forever. You guys matter to me, and I value your support more than I can possibly say. Thank you, sweet friend, for anything you can do to help me out and support the show. I'll see you again soon.